In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You are advised that any view expressed by the host or their guest are not necessarily the views of the owners or management of TogiNet Radio, Togi Entertainment, or the Owners Group, Inc.
Motherhood Incorporated proudly presents Military Mom Talk Radio, live on TogiNet.com. Co-hosted by Tina Gonzalez and Sandra Back, the owner of Motherhood Incorporated. Military Mom Talk Radio is here with a powerful platform for women to discuss their ideas, issues, and concerns with respect to the military lifestyle. Military Mom Talk Radio encourages you to share your experiences of being a military wife and mother. This show is dedicated to educating your family about the resources that are available in both the public and private sector. And we'll be sharing helpful information from women around the world. We'll cover everything military, from helping a family member cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, to navigating government programs dealing with family issues, to the struggles of deployment, along with being a working mother, both in and out of the home. This is Military Mom Talk Radio. And here are your hosts, Tina Gonzalez and Sandra Back.
Hey, military moms. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm coming to you live with my co-host, Tina Gonzalez. Tina, are you there?
I'm here, Sandra. How are you?
Good, good. Did you have a good week this week?
It was a good week.
It was a good week. It's hot here in Southern California. You guys cooking down there, too?
It's hot. It's just ugly. It's so humid and no sun.
Oh, you don't have sun? We have roasting sun up here. It was, 100 degrees yesterday. We were all cooking outside, and I guess summer's here.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is. Well, we have a great show planned today. We have some really exciting guests. We have somebody coming on and going to talk about freedom dogs. And we also have Jody Bremer, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And she has a private practice, and she provides therapy for individuals, couples, and families in conflict. Tina, you know her pretty well.
Yes, I do. She's my marriage counselor.
That's a great thing. I mean, we all need help, especially because, it's so difficult these days, and there's so much going on, and it's just great that she could join us today and be part of this. But before we get to Jody, let's talk a little bit about freedom dogs.
Yes, my husband is working alongside of Freedom Dogs. They are an organization that trains dogs to help out wounded service members with their injuries. They train them, and they're able to help with different types of injuries from, wheelchair bound, blind, having prosthetics, that kind of thing. So, my husband is a part of it, and we're really excited about this program. The founder of it, her name is Beth, and she's awesome. She's the sweetest woman I know. And so my husband is wanted to give the listeners a little information and about there's a contest going with Pepsi right now, and they're giving out a $250,000 grant, but it's kind of like a contest, so you have to call in. You have to log in and vote every day on it. So I will let him tell you guys a little bit more about it.
Well, and the need is growing. I mean, there's a great website, where you can read more about freedom. And they're service dogs, like those, like the dogs for the blind. These are actually service dogs.
Yes.
And the website to check out is freedomservicedogs.org, just like it sounds, freedom, FREEDOM, service, SERVICE, dogs, plural, .org. And I think one of the most important things is that, kind of as we get our medical techniques get better, the battlefield survival rates go up. And so the number of wounded service members returning from home, that are unable to walk on their own or even manage some of the simplest tasks has exponentially gone through the roof. And then, it's the service members coming home is expected to quadruple over the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to me, this is really a great program. I kind of knew about service dogs beforehand, but Richard's brought in some of the dogs home for me to meet, and they are the most brightest dogs ever. I mean, to the point where you can drop their leash and say, leash, and they pick it up right in their mouth and hand it to you. And I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing what they can do.
Well, and a lot of these dogs are actual rescued dogs themselves.
Yep.
That's an amazing thing. I mean, I personally have 4 rescues, and I had 2 rescues prior to that. And I think, rescue dogs just make the best dogs because I think they intuitively know that, they're here, they're home, they're safe, and they really bond very quickly, as opposed to, other dogs that I've had in my life that, there's just something special about that. So we've got, not only are we, helping the animal and pet situation, but we're also helping, our wounded service people by giving them, an extra pair of paws, if you will.
Exactly. I like that put. Very well put.
Thank you. So do we have Richard on the line?
I guess you do, Sandra.
Hey, how are you today?
Doing great, Sandra.
Terrific. So why don't you, we were just chit-chatting a little bit about Freedom Dogs. Why don't you tell us what you're doing and what's going on, and then what you'd like our listeners to do?
All right. Well, let's see. What I do with Freedom Dogs is what has happened is I'm a Marine at Wounded Warrior Battalion, and things have gotten pretty difficult for me to deal with some things along with some of my injuries due to combat-related injuries. And so the command put me in contact with Freedom Dogs, and Freedom Dogs has shown me ways to help deal with things and be more independent, but at the same time still be supported by an organization that is looking out for us that have been wounded by utilizing service dogs.
So what are some of the things, where are you right now? Where are you calling in from first?
I'm calling from Camp Pendleton.
So you're calling in from Camp Pendleton, and this Freedom Service Dogs, what is it that you're doing with them?
So what it is the program, they come to us, and we learned how to utilize the service dogs to do our everyday life, like help us with attending appointments, and it also is injury specific. So some of the Marines have TBI, some of them deal with PTSD and other injuries as well. And the dogs they help us with going to our appointments when we lose things, help us find them. At the same time, too, a lot of us, that go through the stresses of being combat injured, we also suffer from depression, and loneliness. And this is a big thing that the dogs bring to us as well.
Well, sure, they're a loving companion. They're a comfort, and I know that you guys have battle buddies. It's almost like the dog could become like your home front battle buddy.
Yeah. And there are times where we also go out into the public, and we go to places just have lunch, and we utilize the dog to go to lunch, and sometimes we may not feel so safe in an environment. We utilize the dogs to help comfort us. Just everyday task, really.
So then, when you're paired with one of these Freedom Dogs, I know that they use that click or treat. They use that positive reinforcement behaviors like to retrieve, to tug, to touch. They turn all those things into helpful tasks. Do they have to train the service person to work with the dog, or how does that work once you're paired up?
Okay, so what happens is, I speak from my experience.
Sure.
There's some of the other Marines that are a lot more that are farther in the process. But Freedom Dogs they have a bunch of dog handlers dog trainers with their dogs, and we come in and we work with the dogs as they work with us. And I'm sorry, like my TBI, I have hard time sometimes remembering what I'm trying to say.
No worries. So let's talk about now. Do you have a Freedom Dog yourself?
I do. Well, I work with Charlie. He's Beth, the founder. I work with Charlie, and I also have a dog right now that we are also working to help get up and running for my service dog as well.
That's so great. That's so great. And there's something that you want us to vote for. There's something you want us to do as listeners that we can do to help the Freedom Dogs program, get some more money so we can get more dogs rescued, we can get more service people, a companion animal to help them navigate things post-battle injury. What is it you would like us to do?
Yes. All right, so what is happening is Freedom Dogs has been selected by Pepsi Refresh program.
Okay.
And Pepsi has basically come up with this program to give out grants to help people with everyday life, with everyday causes, and to donate these monies to help them further their cause and just to make the world a better place. So Freedom Dogs is in the running for a $250,000 grant, and what we need, and we're asking everybody's support, is for the month of June to go on to Pepsi Refresh and vote for Freedom Dogs and to pass it along to as many people as you know so that Freedom Dogs can win this grant. And with the grant, the more funds that they're able to receive, the more dogs they're able to bring up and train, and that's more service members that they are able to reach out and help.
Now, is this the website refresheverything.com?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so we want our listeners to go over to there's Pepsi there's PepsiRefresh.com, PEPSI Refresh REFRESH.com. You can also go to Google and search Freedom Dogs. And we want to make sure that we get as much support possible for Freedom Dogs, and we would love to see this $250,000 grant go over to you guys so you can keep doing the good work. We will not only spread the word on our show, we'll support you by spreading the word on our sister show, which is Motherhood Talk Radio, and I'll try to get some of my other friends who have radio shows to promote this as well, because it's really an outstanding organization. And Richard, I'm so happy to have you here on the show today. I thank you for your candor. I thank you for your time. We're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we will have our guest, Jody Bremer, and we'll catch you after the break.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard.
Are you a military mom? Looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? That's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Tina Gonzalez. And we'll be right back after these. Girlfriended is on TogiNet. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, with your hosts Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. This show is your chance to share, learn, laugh, and connect with other women. The Girlfriended principle was born out of loss.
Lisa had recently had her mother pass away from cancer, and my mom was murdered. A man just walking into a room and started a 23-second shooting spree.
I think one of the things we both realized going through those tragedies that you can be extremely okay and be extremely sad.
Check out girlfriended.com. And then be a part of Girlfriended, the radio show. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
You know, your boyfriend or your husband or whatever, they don't totally understand that emotional side to them like another woman does. And I think that's so important just to have somebody that you go, she gets me.
Check out the website, girlfriended.com. Don't miss Girlfriended with Patty Wyatt and Lisa Jernigan. Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. What's your story? Are you living it? Well, you could be. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Her passion is helping others discover, create, and live their personal brands. Yep, you heard me. You have a brand. No different than Coke, Pepsi, or Nike. You are a walking, talking, living, breathing brand. You're not a logo. You're not a tagline. The choices you make become the path you take. This is your brand. Now, live your story. Your brand is not just what you say it is. It's also what others say it is. So what are you communicating? And how can you create an authentic brand? We'll take on these challenges with What's Your Story? Every week, Hillary will feature teens, moms, and organizations that are learning and living their story. Now, her passion is to help others discover, create, and live their personal brands. To find out more, go to inspiredbyfamily.com. It's What's Your Story with Hillary Bilbrey. Friday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, covering topics to help on the home front, with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now, let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Tina Gonzalez and Sandra Beck.
Hey, military moms. This is Sandra Beck and Tina Gonzalez, and we had Tina's husband, Richard, on earlier. Right, Tina?
Yes, that was my husband.
He did a good job. He did a good job.
He's the born socializer.
I don't know. You guys are pretty fun, both of you.
Thanks.
We're going to switch gears. We're just going to remind everybody that we do want to go, we want our listeners to go to, what was the website, Jody? Or, I'm sorry, what was the website, Tina, that we want them to go to?
PepsiRefresh.com?
Yes, PepsiRefresh.com. Vote for Freedom Dogs. We really want to do everything we can to get the Pepsi company to support the Freedom Dog program. And we have a great guest today. She's not only a personal friend of Tina, our co-host, but she is a terrific lady. She's written a book called Looking for That Last Date. She's probably done a lot more things that she'd like to tell us about. So, Jody, why don't you fill us in?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Hi, Jody.
Hi, Tina. How are you doing?
I'm good.
What would you like to know?
Jody, give us a quick rundown. You're a licensed marriage and family therapist. What's your educational background and your work background?
Oh, gosh, my educational background. I went to Tulane for undergraduate and Pepperdine University here in California for my graduate degree. I did 3,000 hours of internship, which included just about everything from schizophrenia at College Hospital to the Drake Institute with ADHD and autistic children. I worked with Laura's House for domestic violence. I work a lot with the military right now. And through Military One Source, I'm able to reach a great many of our military members and hopefully provide some help for all the situations that come along with being part of the military family. And I work with individuals, couples, families, separately as well. I work with a lot of sex therapy, which always raises eyebrows. I work with dating and relationships and communications, and that actually led me to writing my first book, which is out for public release tomorrow. It's called Looking for That Last First Date.
That is so great. I have a copy here in my hands. It's a great cover. What I loved about it is it's an easy read. You know, it's not too long. It gets right to the point, and and the cover just makes me laugh. You guys, is it available on Amazon?
It's available if you plug in the ISBN number on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble or Borders. I'm hoping to have some book signings. The ISBN number, let's see.
I have it right here, 978-14489. 6135-1. Again, that's 978-14489, 6135-1.
Thank you.
There
and you can
go.
also get it by going directly to the publisher's website, which is www.publishamerica.com.
There you go.
And just in case people have any hesitation in reading about something called Looking for That Last First Date, I want to tell people this is a very easy, fun read. It's kind of Sex and the City-ish. It's great for the beach or for the poolside. It can be read quickly. And it kind of goes over experiences that all of us have as we pass our teens. And it's not just looking, it says an insider's guide to dating after divorce, but But the truth is, it's an insider's guide to dating anytime you're past the pimple stage.
Absolutely, and it's a fun read, and it's just a really great product. And, what I think is interesting is, you've got all these different hats that you wear. You do many different things. But since this is Military Mom Talk Radio, I want you to explain to our listeners how you're connected to the military from day one.
Well, I was literally day one. I was born into it. My father was drafted during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was drafted as a doctor. He actually served on one of the boats during the Cuban blockade, and my mother and father proceeded to have and raise 4 children, all on different military bases. My sister and I, the last of the 4, we were born at Bethesda Naval Hospital. So you could say I was literally born into the Marines. Or actually,
you were born into the Navy, but
I was born into
born at Bethesda Naval Hospital gives you, an edge on the rest of us. That
absolutely.
And you're divorced and remarried both times to military men?
That's pure coincidence, but yes, my first marriage took place when I was quite young, and that was to a Marine ROTC that I met at Tulane and fell in love with, and I went through the entire beginning program from OCS, TBS, the whole Quantico experience. He went into the flight area. I went through Quantico, Jacksonville, Corpus Christi, where my son was born. Lots of experiences with being a single mom. Tina, I know you can relate. We were there during the Desert Storm crisis, and my husband was sent away for a number of months, many, many different times, and I was raising one child, and we were based out here in El Toro when El Toro was up and active, and that's when I got pregnant and had my daughter. And my daughter, I'm happy to say, just turned 21.
Wow.
So it's been a few years. And then after my divorce, I got divorced after about 16-plus years of marriage. I was on my own, experiencing the dating life for quite a while, and then I met a wonderful retired Navy fellow who was a HMC, independent duty corpsman, chief, who had served with the Marines. And while I was dating him a few years ago, they had a push with all of the marriage and family therapists, all of the therapists. They had a lot of promotions, not promotions, but they were promoting the fact that our men overseas, men and women overseas, were coming back with a lot of experiences and trauma. I mean, this is our second longest war that the United States has ever fought in, and Iraq has been going on since, 2003, 2004, and my husband now was in the first assault into Baghdad, and when the military was asking for civilian help in the therapy field to kind of augment and assist in everything.
To support?
Pardon?
To support, yeah, absolutely.
To support, absolutely, to support their efforts for therapy on campus, on base. Sorry, I'm still in my daughter's 21-year-old mode. I was absolutely compelled to attend the seminars. There was a seminar that was held in San Diego at the San Diego Armory over the course of a weekend, which reinforced all that we knew about PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and all of the problems associated with detaching, deploying, returning, the homecoming, the reintegration of the families with the military members as they came back, and recognizing the symptoms and problems that a lot of these military families would have. It's very difficult. I hear a lot of military men say, and women, that first of all, they don't want to admit that they were affected in any way because they don't want it to look poorly on their record. They don't want it to affect their career. The Marines especially are very, very careful about being a very strong Marine, a very capable Marine, and not having anything get in their way of their path or their duty. And that's absolutely respectable and totally admirable. I just don't see how, as a person in my field, how anybody can go over there, especially at the age of 19, 20, 21, let alone 50, 60, 70, how anybody can go overseas and experience what our men and women in service experience with Iraq and with Afghanistan, and with everything that they have and what they see and what they do and things that we can go our lifetime very happily and willingly never experiencing and not come back untouched. Everybody that comes back from there that has seen any sort of action by virtue of being human has got to have been affected in some way by what they saw or what happened there. And that's where I come in. That's where I want to help. I want to help them process whatever feelings they have, the inconsistencies. They come back to a life that is highly unstructured back here versus the highly structured sleep in the sand, sleep in the dirt, don't shower for 3 months, eat MREs. This is what their life is. They know every day what their duty is supposed to be, and then they come home and they're with a wife or a husband or children that aren't following the Marine orders, or drivers on the street that aren't staying in their lanes, and this creates some difficulty for a lot of people. And the wives don't understand. I hear a lot of wives say, my husband isn't the person he was before he came back, or I don't recognize this person, or it's not the man that I married.
Well, it's not. It truly isn't.
It isn't.
We do change. The experiences that we have in our lives do change us. Whether it's on the battlefield, whether it's, in your personal life, we are not the same person day to day based on those experiences. And to have someone like you to be able to navigate, with a family through this, I don't know if Ronnie would say, natural process, because, we think that, like you said, the Marines especially don't want to come back and admit that, anything changed them. But if we put it as this is part of the battle process, you go to battle, prior to battle, you have this set of terms and conditions, you come back and you could have any one of these terms and conditions. It's not that it's necessarily anything bad, it's just part of the process of coming home.
It's interesting that you call it a natural process, because I think of war as being so unnatural. I mean, it's part of mankind. It's part of our history. It's part of our biology. But what these military service members are going over and participating in is not what the typical 21, 22, and 23-year-old is experiencing back home. So their natural process, as you call it, the Marines' natural process, is so different.
It is so different
than what we know of as being a typical 21, 22, 23-year-old.
Sure.
Even a sergeant at the age of 25 is far different in mentality, maturity, experience than a typical 25-year-old kid finishing college late.
Absolutely. Jody, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're about ready to go to commercial break. We're here with licensed marriage and family therapist Jody Bremer, who has a book that's coming out tomorrow, Looking for That Last First Date. And we're going to go to break. We'll come back and pick you up in a few.
Thank you.
Are you a military mom? Looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? That's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Tina Gonzalez. And we'll be right back after these. Here comes Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues today, with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly. Tuesday evenings at 6, 5 Central, part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Motherhood Talk Radio provides a powerful platform for women today by giving interesting, inspiring, and inspirational information to mothers around the globe as they navigate everything from child care to corporate formation. Motherhood Talk Radio will have best-selling authors, gurus of happiness, women of interest, who every single day make our world a better place for our families. Motherhood Talk Radio, powered by Motherhood Incorporated, is co-hosted by corporate executive Sandra Beck and stay-at-home mom Christy Holly. For more information on each and the show, go to motherhoodtalkradio.com. Mom, this really is your show. Motherhood Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly. Tuesday afternoons at 6, 5 Central, part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Hey, you living the dream like Nina and Cindy?
Sweet dreams are made of these.
Were you shocked by the Chuck E. Cheese calamities, diaper dilemmas, and major mom minivan mishaps? Then get ready to share it with Living the Dream Moms with Nina Fry and Cindy Schmitzer, Thursday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet. And as Nina and Cindy say, if you're thinking it, we're saying it. It's your chance to discuss, share, and learn from two moms who have been there, done that, and yes, they have the t-shirts. And they're for sale at LTDCHIX.com. Living the Dream Moms is all about all things moms have to deal with daily. Nina and Cindy are two ordinary frazzled moms who admit when they need help and do their best to research and discuss topics that are not always talked about. Living the Dream Moms are just two real women who are discussing the trials and tribulations and triumphs of everyday mom lives. You are not alone. It's Living the Dream Moms with Nina Fry and Cindy Schmitzer. Thursday mornings at 10 Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
Put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, covering topics to help on the home front, with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now, let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Tina Gonzalez and Sandra Beck.
Courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm on with my co-host, Tina Gonzalez. And we have something special coming up in this next segment. We have Jody Bremer, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's well-schooled in military issues, really from being born in a Bethesda Naval Hospital up until present day. Married a couple times, married both to military men. She's 3,000 hours of training with everything under the sun. But what makes this segment, to me, really exciting is that Tina, my co-host, and her husband, Richard, who do seek counsel from Jody, have agreed to not only be on the segment together, but to share some of their experiences. Especially, Richard, I've got to ask you, it had to be, was it a difficult decision to make for you to come and talk to someone like Jody, or was it, how did that process go for you?
Well, the process was Tina told me we're going, so we went.
There you go. You're a good man.
That happens a lot.
Well, we, throughout my battle with PTSD and my combat wounds as well, we have sought marital counseling before, and sometimes the counselors and every counselor helped in every way. But what I found to help out with was Jody. She was also versed in PTSD along with marital and parenting. So when Tina told me about this, and we decided that there was a time in our marriage that we were going to give 100%, and we were going to do whatever we needed to do to make sure that our commitment we made when we first were married, that we were going to continue to do it no matter what. And so we decided, we're going to make this work, and we were going to make marriage counseling a priority in our life.
Well, and Jody, that's got to be a really great starting point from which, for you to start helping them work through some of these issues. They've got multiple children. We've got some different conditions going on here that any one of these conditions would make a good marriage difficult under the best of circumstances.
Tina and Richard are an example of an exemplary couple for a therapist to work with. When people first come in, oftentimes when they come into therapy, it's kind of to check the last box, especially couples. It's like, okay, we tried everything else. Let's just say we went to therapy, and then we can go ahead and file for divorce. And when I hear that, I know that there's a good chance that one of the partners has already closed the door, and if somebody has closed the door, it's almost too late. And I feel like it gives therapy a bad rap because there's nothing I can do if somebody has decided that the marriage is over. What I liked to hear with Tina and Richard and all the other couples that come to me that say, we think we're heading for divorce, we are fighting all the time, we don't know if this is what we want, and then there's this little bitty but in there. I asked, how committed are you? I said, as miserable as your marriage might be, on a scale of 1 to 10, even if your marriage is just barely a 1.5, how committed are you to making this marriage work? Do you want it to work? And some people might say, I'm a 10. Some people might say, I don't know, I'm a 5. Some people might say, I've been hurt so badly, there's been so much stuff that's gone on, I'm just barely a 3. And then I ask people to really think, what would it take to be a 3.5? What would it take to be a 4? What would it take to commit a little bit more to this marriage? You're not saying you're 1. You're not saying you're walking out. You came here. You came to talk to me. What would it take? And they said, oh, well, there's not Tina and Richard, but I mean in general when couples come in, they say it would take a lot of change. And I say, okay, are you up for it? Because what you've been doing apparently isn't working. So by coming in to see me, we've got to figure out what's wrong and try to figure out a way to fix it.
But then you have a chance when you come into therapy before one or both parties have thrown in the towel.
There's a big chance, yes.
It's important to not wait too long to seek assistance in your marriage.
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, even a lot of healthy marriages feel like they can benefit even just from learning some communication skills so they don't go off track. And I have a lot of very healthy couples that, again, are a therapist's joy because they want to be there. They want to work on things. They want to learn. They want the tools. And things that bring couples in, oftentimes with the military, when the man returns, or even if the man is getting ready to leave, there's a lot of upheaval in the house.
Sure.
Tina, you can probably attest to that.
Oh, yeah.
Which is worse, the leaving or the coming home?
Oh, I don't know. I think both.
Yeah.
Well, and Richard, what brought you? I know you jokingly say, well, Tina told me to go, and that makes you a good foot soldier, and every woman cheered when you said that. But, Richard, were you struggling?
I was. And so what I was struggling with was, being married. All right, so you're on these deployments. I've done multiple deployments. I've combat wounded. Spend two of my deployments were within 2 weeks in between of each other, and throughout that course of time and all those different events, you change. You change as an individual, as a father, as a husband, even as a son. So all my relationships have suffered, because of my experiences, and therefore I had a hard time communicating in my marriage. I had a hard time communicating my emotions, and I didn't know what to do. There was a time where I thought, maybe it was Tina, maybe it was me, maybe it was my symptoms, maybe it was my injuries, maybe I'm not the same person, maybe we've fallen out of love. There was too many maybes. But the thing was, I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to bring an unbiased opinion into the equation and educate both of us, not just me. I wanted to educate on what I go through being wounded, and I wanted to understand what it was for a wife to deal with a wounded husband, and all the marital stress that brings, along with just being married, having 4 kids, being in the military.
Just being
As
married,
if that's
just
not
having
enough.
4 kids.
So, I struggled with it, but me and Tina, we've been married for almost 10 years, coming up in September, and there's been many times where I'll be honest, that I felt that it wasn't gonna work. I'm pretty sure that on Tina's end, she felt that at times, but we're still here, and we're still working it, and that's what we do. Especially the military families. That's what we do. We do, and we persevere through even the toughest times.
Well, and I got to say, Richard, you're so amazing because I've worked with Marines for 18 years, and my heart resides with the Marine Corps, and there's not a lot of guys that would come on to a totally chick-based show, Military Mom Talk Radio, to talk about these things. To me, that makes you, you're a hero, because a lot of guys wouldn't, and I just, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to have you on my show, and I'm so thankful for you and Tina to be able to share this, because if one other soldier or one other family is struggling and they choose to, seek somebody out like Jody, we've done our job for today. We made a difference. And Jody, what are some of the things that you would recommend to our listeners? Like what where do they start? You've got a couple, like Tina and Richard. They're struggling with all these different things. Tina's got her own thing. She's got her kids. She's got to handle deployment. She's got to handle reentry. She's got to handle being a single mom, even though she's not a single mom during deployment. Mm-hmm. Then we've got Richard that comes with his whole host of things just by nature of his career choice and the things that happen to him. What does a couple do? What's the first thing that they do?
Right now, based on getting the most help for the most people, I would say go to Military One Source. There is help out there that a lot of people are not aware of. It's a website, Military One Source, and for the people who don't know about it, they provide amazing literature, tools, videos, and it gives access to a toll-free phone number where you can call and get names of counselors and therapists like myself in the area that you live in. And the best thing about this is that you are entitled to this. This is free. You don't have to use TRICARE. You don't have to use anything. You are entitled as a member of the military to individual sessions as well as couple sessions as well as family sessions.
Well, and this is a 24/7 resource. It's not just the website, which is militaryonesource.com, and you spell out the letter 1. It's military1source.com. But there's also a 1-800 number that people can call, 1-800-342-9647. Again, that's 1-800-342-9647. You can hop on Military One Source. It gives you private help 24/7. You can call and talk anytime. There's counseling. There's also a suicide prevention lifeline, if things get to that point. But there is help out there. And just quickly, the suicide prevention lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK, which is 8255, 1-800-273-8255. But there is help out there, and it's 24/7 help.
It absolutely is. They're there for you. I've gotten referrals on Saturday nights, on Sunday mornings. They're serious. They want to talk to you, find out what the problem is, and get you together with the very best person possible in your area. Again, it's free of charge. It's with a civilian, so nothing goes on anybody's record. It's private. It's confidential. And you're talking to somebody who has been trained to help you, and that is the only focus. There's so many issues. As you said, my God, Richard and Tina bring they make me earn my money, But the fact is that even things that other people might consider as minor, something as non-minor, as anxiety or depression, these are huge and powerful things that really incapacitate people. And you could have a combination of multiple symptoms that your heart starts racing, you feel scared in a public setting.
Okay, Jody, yeah. I don't mean to cause even more anxiety by cutting you off, but we're going to break. We will be back in a few minutes to talk about some of the different things that we can do as part of Military One Source, working with a private therapist. We are here with Tina Gonzalez, Jody Bremer, Richard, and we're out.
Are you a military mom? Looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? That's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Tina Gonzalez. And we'll be right back after these. Combine Snide and Remark, and you've got Snark. Combine Lisa Mena and Valia Alvarez on Monday nights, and you've got Deep Dish Snark. Monday nights at 9, 8 Central, part of the Her Insight Network. When you've had enough at work or at home, and you're ready to laugh, join Lisa and Valia for their no BS look at the world and the people in it. They'll be serving up a no-holds-barred take on pop culture, current events, entertainment, and family matters, with segments like Accidentally Helpful, TV is Now My Hobby, and Who Sucks This Week. Deep Dish Snark delivers something for every girl who enjoys life with a dash of sarcasm. Lisa Manna is a former TV news anchor turned stay-at-home mom. She's making sure if anyone screws up her kids, it's her. Valia Alvarez suffers life as a jack of all trades, mistress of none, by juggling a PR career, marriage, motherhood, and more. Don't miss Deep Dish Snark with Lisa Manna and Valia Alvarez, Monday nights at 9, 8 Central. Part of the Her Insight Network on TogiNet.com. Get ready for the Not So Soccer Mom Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet with Jill Hickey. You name it, from politics to pop culture to Jill's search for the perfect bronzer and chicken salad. The Not So Soccer Mom will weigh in on it all. The sentence, "I have no opinion about that," is one that Jill has never uttered. In the early 90s, Jill finally decided to put her thoughts, opinions, mom advice, love of pop culture, hummus, and Starbucks, working out, cosmetic shopping, and politics into an actual website, and thus NotSoSoccerMom.com was born. Shortly after her fourth child, a boy, Jerome, now she's really got tons of topics to share with you. This is Laugh Out Loud Funny, and we're not kidding. What's a loud Nebraska girl who lived in Little Rock for many years and now is up in the Northeast doing? Chronicling her opinions on everything. The wheels aren't off yet, but it's close. It's the Not So Soccer Mom with Jill Hickey, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet.com.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, covering topics to help on the home front, with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now, let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Tina Gonzalez and Sandra Beck.
Hey, Military Moms. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Tina Gonzalez. Tina, this show is flying by.
I know. I can't believe it. That's how you know it's a good show.
It is. It's not a good show. It's a great show. And we're here with Jody Bremer, licensed marriage and family therapist. We're also here with one of our favorite Marines, Richard. And I want to talk, before we get back into talking about the issues of like anger, depression, and anxiety, Richard, I want to talk to you a little bit about why you chose to seek assistance outside of even though Military One Source is military affiliated, why you chose to go out privately versus, dealing with this through the typical military channels.
Yes. All right. So, in the military, they always stress, go ahead and bring it up the chain of command. We'll get you the proper avenues to seek help, and that's fine. And I encourage that for everybody. Help is help. Sometimes I was a little bit more hesitant to go through a chain of command because I don't want them to scrutinize, my job or think that things are going at home, so they might not go to me for certain duties. So I went to Military One Source because I know that they will outsource to a private therapist who will be able to help us, and we're able to talk about the stresses of being in the military, having a military marriage per se, and at the same time you don't feel like there's a repercussion of sometimes just having your own opinion while being in the military.
Sure.
And that helps just great. It is so great to be able to talk freely, whereas sometimes being a military service member, you might not necessarily feel that open to speak about certain things that have to do with military or the stresses that military causes on one's life to somebody who is directly related to the military. So
sure.
One
Well,
of the first things that I tell people.
Very difficult for your career.
It would be. The first thing that people are wanting reassurance of is that this is a confidential session and that I am civilian. Right, Richard?
Yeah.
So confidential and civilian, that's why we go to Military One Source. And I'm going to give those numbers really quick again. And then, Jody, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the issue of anger, because I think that's something, that we talked about is really prevalent and really can be a sign of PTSD. Let me give the numbers for our listeners. If you are a military member, spouse, and families, you can call 1-800-342-9647. Again, that's 1-800-342-9647. You can also head to militaryonesource.com. The number 1 is spelled out. This is a 24/7 resource that you can connect with to get private help. You can talk about whatever you need to talk about, figure out what you need to talk about, and not have anything track back to your military career. And Jody, let's talk about anger, because anger is a big part of what we're seeing coming back from a lot of our soldiers and our Marines.
Absolutely. In fact, oftentimes it is the one thing that brings couples or even the women in. They notice, as I said, the change in their partners as they come home. But what they're coming in and saying is that this person that I loved and married is so angry. And I hear from the military member themselves that everything pisses them off and that they fly into a rage, or they don't understand why the little things are so upsetting to them, that the drivers on the road, that turns into road rage immediately, or the little things that happen. They come to back to home, and it's not cleaned up, and they shout. And the big fear is that there's an increase not only in what we call rages. Rage is different than anger. Anger is an emotion, and an emotion is neither right or wrong. It is just a feeling, and sometimes anger is very appropriate. But what we do with that anger, the behavior associated with that anger, that's where lines need to be drawn, and that's where danger or difficulty might arise. When the anger becomes a rage or becomes out of control and turns to violence, we hear a lot about punching walls or kicking or throwing things, or worse, going into domestic violence. Now, again, in my sessions, domestic violence is confidential. However, having worked with Laura's House and worked with domestic violence perpetrators as well as victims, I do encourage people to seek the help that they need. When it gets to that point, it is usually outside of the control of both of the people, and that's a whole other topic to begin with. Anger is just one of the symptoms, but it's the main symptom that we see from people coming back with any form of PTSD. The men come back feeling very angry, very irritable, very jittery, what we call hypervigilant. And Richard, I know you can describe that better. Hypervigilant is where you're on guard all the time. You never sleep. You look out the window for cars passing by. You hide weapons around the house to make sure that everything is protected, inside or outside. You scan, if you go to the swap meet or you go to the supermarket, you scan the people to read body language. You get upset or nervous or even go into some sort of a panic if you see a paper bag on the freeway because it might be an IED. And these things are things that our servicemen deal with and keep to themselves because they think they're going crazy, or they think that this is something that only they experience and nobody else knows what it's like. But that's not true. This is part of what people are coming back with. And the women, the wives, are coming back and saying, he's so angry, I can't even talk to him. He walks out or he closes up, or worse, he shouts or screams, and the kids are there, or they hear it, or I'm afraid it's going to get worse, or in some extreme cases, it has gotten worse. We want to make sure that all of the symptoms of PTSD are addressed. We want to make sure that the relationships between the couples, the reuniting, the goodbyes, that's another thing, is when somebody is ready to deploy, it's very common practice for the husband and wife to start nitpicking at each other, to start finding reasons to distance from each other, because if somebody leaves and you're angry at them, it's a lot easier to say goodbye than if they leave and you're madly in love with them. So a natural human condition is to try to push your partner away if you're getting ready for a deployment. But if you're aware that that's what you're doing, it'll make it a lot easier to say, I don't mean it. I'm sorry. I love you, and I'm going to miss you, and I'm going to be here when you come back.
Yeah. Well, now, Jody, let me ask you, we were talking about earlier in the show, like a natural response. Would you say that PTSD could be almost considered a natural response to a really unnatural situation? Because we hear it a lot. I mean, it's a lot. And so the expectation of someone going, if we kind of reframe it a little bit, at least for the purposes of the show, that this is something that happens, after battle to a lot of people. It doesn't become some source of shame that, has to be addressed in quiet. It's just part of, the battle process that,
absolutely.
So that we take the, I don't know what the word is, take the sting, take the shame, take the whatever it is out of it. And
take the stigma.
The stigma. We want our soldiers to fight. We want our Marines to get out there. This is just part of, you would train your body to go in battle. You're not going to go into battle fat. So why wouldn't you give that same honor to your thought process, your mental processes, because that's part of what has to be fixed. Or I don't even know if the word fixed is right.
It's hard to be fixed. PTSD is something that people live with. It comes out in the form of nightmares, of night traumas, of not being able to sleep, of waking up in the middle of the night and startling, being very easily startled. It's, as I said earlier, if somebody goes overseas and sees any kind of conflict, it doesn't even have to be overseas. You can have conflict or trauma here at home. It can happen with a rape. It can happen with a car accident. It can happen with a burglary. It can happen with the 911 survivors or even people who are watching 911. If you've been exposed to a trauma, and God knows war is a trauma, and you've seen the things that you've seen, you cannot help but be affected by it. And yes, in that sense, it would be a natural reaction to have signs and symptoms of PTSD following coming home from war, coming home from Afghanistan, having a traumatic event hit you here. Traumatic event with PTSD being anything that threatens your life or your perception of your life, meaning something that is a life or death critical situation where you feel completely helpless or out of control to stop it. And I'd say that would describe a lot of what our military service people are going through. So, yes.
I think a lot. I mean, when I think of the families that I'm friends with, the families that I serve, the families that have served with my friends, and I think, Jody, I'd love to have you back. We've got a couple minutes to the end of the show. I'd love to have you back to do a show specifically about PTSD, what it is. I know our listeners, we do get questions about PTSD from time to time, and I want to give Richard, just the biggest hug because I'm so proud of you. I'm so amazed that you would come on and do this show. And if you could just tell, the wives and any service members that are listening today, what would be your one piece of advice that you would give to the listeners today?
Never give up. That's a big thing for me. No matter how many days I go, that I struggle and with marriage and, the combat wounds and stuff. Speaking from, someone who causes a lot of problems in my marriage, I would just say, don't, as the wives, stay strong. You guys have a really hard job dealing with, the service members and all the different challenges we face. And it's not always, 9 out of 10 times it's stresses inside, and we just don't know how to communicate them. And so, stay in the fight and continue to support us because that's ultimately what we need. And just, tell us from time to time that you understand and, you may not fully understand, but you support us and you're willing to help us however you need to. And, that helps a lot. Tina does that to me, and I'm having my fits and tantrums, and I come to realization that, she's there to support me.
And Tina, you are amazing. You're an amazing wife. You're an amazing co-host. You're an amazing friend. I thank you so much for bringing Richard on to the show today. I also want to thank Jody Bremer for being here today and giving us such great insight. We are going to have her back. She's got a lot of great things to share. Thanks, you guys. I had an outstanding time, and we will catch you next week. Same time, same bat channel, and we will have a mystery surprise guest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.